How do you effectively have English conversations on well-being at work, deal with overwhelm, or discuss setting boundaries with your boss? Time management, self-care, and overall well-being are common topics of conversation inside my Confident Women community, and my lessons on these topics are also some of my most popular on the Speak Confident English YouTube channel. Having successful conversations on well-being requires knowledge of key vocabulary. So for this lesson today, I want you to get out your notebook and a pen because you're going to learn more than 15 collocations, phrasal verbs, idioms, and more to help you have successful, confident conversations on well-being in the workplace. Plus, if you're currently struggling to maintain well-being or balance at work, in this lesson, you'll also get concrete action steps you can take to help you find that balance. If you don't already know, I'm Anne Marie with Speak Confident English. Everything I do here is designed to help you get the confidence you want for your life and work in English. One way I do that is with my weekly Confident English lessons, where I highlight my top fluency and confidence building strategies, targeted grammar practice, and advanced level vocabulary, just like in this lesson today. So while you're here, make sure you subscribe to the Speak Confident English channel so you never miss one of my lessons. To get started with English conversations on well-being in the workplace, let's dive right in and clarify the difference between the words well-being and wellness. Both are hot topics in the workplace. And when you're participating in a conversation on wellness at work, it's important to get the language right. When we talk about wellness at work, we're referring to a state of physical health. A state in which people have the ability and the energy to do what they want without illness. And when we talk about boosting wellness, solutions are often to eat healthier, get more sleep, or exercise. Well-being, on the other hand, is much broader. Well-being is a state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. As a result, it goes far beyond your physical health. It includes your emotional health, your career, your finances, relationships, and more. Wellness, that physical wellness, is a component of overall well-being. So why is well-being so important and often talked about at work? A sense of well-being ultimately impacts your productivity, your engagement, and your overall sense of fulfillment. Prioritizing well-being in all aspects of our lives helps us to thrive. To thrive means to flourish or to prosper. And here's how you might use it in an example sentence. Someone who has optimal physical health but faces stress in their finances and in their career satisfaction may lose satisfaction over time and feel like they just can't keep up. As a result, this person may not thrive as much as someone else who has satisfaction in those same areas. As you have conversations on well-being at work with your coworkers, you might recognize there are obstacles that often get in the way, resulting in stress, overwhelm, and frustration. And here are the 5 most common obstacles that get in the way of well-being in the workplace. Number 1, lack of boundary setting. Number 2, mental exhaustion. Number 3, saying yes too often. Number 4, bottling up emotions. And number 5, not prioritizing renewal. So how do you effectively overcome those 5 obstacles and create opportunities for well-being? Let's review 5 key strategies, and along the way, we'll review English collocations, idioms, phrasal verbs, and more to help you confidently have conversations on this topic in English. Strategy number 1, set boundaries for your personal time. Establishing strong boundaries is essential for overall well-being in every aspect of our lives, and it requires that you clarify your priorities. In other words, set your priorities straight. To set something straight means to get it figured out and communicate the key information effectively to someone else. If you're setting your priorities straight, not only do you need to know what they are, but key people around you need to know what they are as well. Let's look at a common scenario to see how you might set boundaries for personal time. Imagine that you've taken the day off to attend your child's graduation at school. However, a team member or a manager emails you at the very last minute and requests that you take time to review a document. To set a healthy boundary, you might respond with something like, "I understand you need this reviewed for Friday's meeting. Since I'm currently on vacation, I will prioritize this as my first task when I get back to work." The second strategy for well-being in the workplace is to step away without guilt. If you've ever worked around the clock and tried to juggle multiple tasks at the same time, you've likely experienced mental exhaustion. And in the process, you might feel that you've hit a dead end. In other words, a situation in which it's impossible to make progress. To prevent that mental exhaustion, it's important to create opportunities in your workday to step away from work. To step away means to pause involvement or to simply stop being involved in something. If you determine that stepping away briefly is what you need for overall well-being at work, it's important to communicate that to your team and your boss. To do that, you'll want to highlight the reason for stepping away and provide details of when you'll return. Let's take a look at another common scenario to see how this strategy might be applied. Imagine you've been in back-to-back meetings all day. You are mentally exhausted, but you have one more significant task to complete. In order to regain focus, you might share the following with your team. "I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, and I need to step away briefly to regain focus. I'll return to this in just 15 minutes. In that example sentence, I used the word overwhelmed. To feel overwhelmed means to be completely overcome or overpowered by the circumstances, the thoughts, or feelings you're experiencing. When you start to notice those signs of exhaustion, stepping away can help you avoid that overwhelm. Strategy number 3, when it comes to practicing well-being in the workplace, is to harness the power of no. At work, it's easy to get excited about new opportunities and collaborations. It's also easy to be a people pleaser. A people pleaser is someone who has the emotional need to please others or make them happy. And this is often at the expense of his or her own needs. You'll often see this in someone who says yes to everything or yes too often. And saying yes to every request to help will likely lead to exhaustion and stress. To overcome this obstacle, it's important to harness the power of saying no, declining politely when you can. When you need to decline politely or push back a little bit, here are a few things you can say. "I'm a little tied up with my project deadline right now, but I can help you out on Monday." To be tied up means to be already occupied or engaged with something else. Or if someone's requesting your help, you could say, "My plate is quite full with some upcoming deadlines. Could we revisit this once I get those finished?" To have a full plate is an idiom that means to have a schedule or a workload that is filled to capacity with obligations. In other words, you have no more room in your schedule or in your energy levels to do something else. A third way you can respond when you need to say no politely and push back a bit is, "This falls outside of my expertise, but Jennifer could certainly help you with this." To fall outside, for example, to fall outside of one's expertise, means to be beyond or not included in. So if something falls outside your area of expertise, it's beyond or not included in your area of expertise. Now, I know that saying no politely can be a real challenge. If this is an area of struggle for you, I recommend reviewing my full lesson on how to say no politely in English without feeling guilty. I'll leave a link to that lesson in the notes below this video. And now let's move on to strategy number 4 for well-being in the workplace. Confide in your confidant. From time to time at work, you might feel that you just need to get something off your chest. What this means is to finally tell someone about some negative feelings you've been having for a long time, or a negative thought that you've been having for a long time. Think about it like opening a bottle of emotions that you've been hiding away. If you need to get something off your chest, identify a person in your life who can empathize with your situation and serve as a pillar of support. A pillar of support is something or someone that is strong and incredibly supportive. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you may have more than one person who can serve as a pillar of support. For example, the person you talk to about the stresses of balancing work and parenting may not be the same person that you talk to about the stresses of growing your career. And regardless of whether you need advice or not, this person will be comfortable being a sounding board. A sounding board is someone you can trust to listen to you, help you process, and think through solutions. Let's illustrate how we might use some of this language and apply this strategy in a 4th scenario. Imagine you've had a series of difficult months at work where you've been juggling multiple tasks and you're feeling overwhelmed. When you're ready to confide in a confidant, you might call your friend and say, "This past week at work has been so stressful and I need to get a few things off my chest. I'd really appreciate it if you could just be a sounding board and let me clear my mind." And now strategy number 5, to help you overcome those common obstacles and establish well-being in the workplace. Energize your mind and body. Prioritizing renewable sources of energy for your mind and your body is essential for resetting when you need it. To renew means to make new or restore, while reset, which I also used in that sentence, means to set, adjust, or fix something in a new or different way. High-quality, renewable sources might include adding more movement to your day, for example, going on a quick walk over your lunch break, doing a quick meditation or mindful breathing exercise, or eating food that makes you feel good. You may even find that from time to time, a change of scenery helps to break up the monotony and reset your focus. A change of scenery refers to a temporary shift from one's current or immediate surroundings to someplace more desirable. Again, a quick 15-minute walk over your lunch break can get you out of the office into a place where you're enjoying fresh air, a new environment, or nature as well. To finish up, let's look at one last common scenario to help illustrate how we might apply this strategy. Perhaps you're working on a project that requires some deep brain work or creativity, and the constant monotony of your workplace isn't inspiring any creativity whatsoever. To energize your mind and body and spark inspiration, you might consider moving your business meetings outside. Or if you work from home, you might consider working in other areas of your home, for example, out in the garden. or in another room that brings in some natural light and some new surroundings to help energize you. And with that, you have more than 15 new key vocabulary words, including collocations, idioms, phrasal verbs, and more, to help you successfully have English conversations about well-being in the workplace. If you enjoyed today's lesson, I would love to know, and you can tell me in 2 very simple ways. Number 1, give this lesson a thumbs up here on YouTube, and while you're at it, make sure that you subscribe to the Speak Confident English channel so you never miss one of my lessons. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.